Hello everyone, this is Nick Knaphacker coming to you live from Virginia Beach, Virginia with my blog for Vampire Diaries, Season 3, Episode 12, The Ties That Bind. Apologies for the lateness. I had a little explosive anger on Thursday when I turned the CW on at 8 o'clock, only to find that they decided to preempt Vampire Diaries and Secret Circle for a college basketball game. So at risk of having to wait the 3 hours for the basketball game to finish and then watching it at 11 o'clock, which I wasn't going to do because it was way too late and I have to go to work in the morning. I just waited for 1 hour, knowing that inevitably somebody was going to post the episode online, which of course they did. So, on with it. The Ties That Bind. Okay, I won't say that this was action-packed and I won't say that it was slow. It's kind of a merging of both. After everything that has happened in the preceding 2 episodes with the New Deal and Our Town, something had to turn the tide. And big smiles for those of you who'd watched this and the entirety of the Vampire Diaries fandom, because what we've been waiting for finally happened. No, not Delana. That's wishful thinking. But the other thing that we've been waiting for has finally happened. Yay! Anyway, episode starts up with Bonnie having another vision about the coffin, and this time she's inside of it trying to get out. She casts a spell to try and get the coffin open, and she can't get it open. And after a couple minutes of screaming and yelling, the coffin does open, and she sees a figure standing there. It looks like a woman, but she can't make out a face. And then she comes to, and she's trying to figure out what all this means. She couldn't initially place the face, but after a while she started to be able to place it, and she believes that the figure is her mother. Her mother, who disappeared from her life 15 years earlier, without a word or a letter or a phone call. Pretty much destroying her father and any chance at a relationship that they might have had. On the other side of things, she's also decided that she doesn't like keeping secrets from Elena anymore, so she takes her to the witch house and she shows her that the coffins are there. Stefan shows up and is a little upset by this. He doesn't like that. He's pissed off that she would reveal that secret because he wanted to keep Elena out of it. But Bonnie says, look, you want me to continue helping you. We need to work together. We can't be at opposite ends. I didn't like keeping secrets from her regardless. And then she brings up the idea of this vision and who she thinks is her mother. And she shows her a picture of her mother holding her when she was a little girl. So they decided that they're going to try and search for the location of her mother, Abby Bennett. So she goes to the sheriff and asks him to bring up any records they could find of every Abby Bennett in the country. And they're sitting at the house going through all these records, looking around. At the same time, Damon, of course, is at the bar. Another early lunch. And Meredith shows up. And they have a little discussion. If anybody was thinking that just because she's on the council and she knows about vampires, is she unaware of Damon? Yeah, no. She knows. Possibly more than she's letting on. So, Damon doesn't quite trust her. So he is trying to talk to her to worm his way in and figure out what she's all about. Because at the founders' party, her ex-boyfriend seemed to think she was a psycho. The same ex-boyfriend who showed up dead in the woods with a stake through his heart even though he's not a vampire. So Damon, of course, looking out for his bromance with Rick, he doesn't want him to get hooked up with somebody that's psycho. So he's kind of debunking her, trying to figure her out. And he's trying to turn her off of Rick in the process, but it doesn't seem to work. He goes to Rick saying, you need to stay away from her, she's psycho, but Rick is really digging her and wants to be with her, so, or at least wants to figure her out. So, he hears, of course, through the grapevine, and obviously through Liz, because Liz tells him everything, apparently now, that Elena and Bonnie are looking for a location on Abby Bennett. And somehow, probably through some compulsion, he's able to get her actual file. He brings it to them so that they can go visit her. He offers to go with them, of course, because when we ever leave Elena by herself, but she says, no, I want to do this, just us. We need this time. She wants to give Bonnie a chance to get to know her mother, even if it doesn't pan out. So they take this drive together. At the same time, Caroline's coming home and she finds Tyler in the house. Uh-oh, Tyler's not supposed to be there. She doesn't want Tyler anywhere around her. Obviously, after what happened with him biting her and almost killing her. But guess who else is there? Caroline's dad. Apparently, Tyler called him because he knows that her father can resist compulsion, and he feels such remorse for what he's done to Caroline that he can't stand the cyberbond in him anymore. He wants it gone. He figures that if her father could teach himself to resist compulsion, maybe he can teach Tyler to resist the cyberbond. But it's going to be a very long and arduous process. So they take him down to that spot on the Lockwood property where he used to transform, and they chain him up. And her father says, the key to this is that you'll be beholden to Klaus because he alleviated you of your pain from the transformations. So the key to fixing this is you need to transform. You need to transform so that you will no longer feel the pain of it, and therefore you will no longer feel like you are beholden to him. You will have no fear. Tyler doesn't like the idea because he knows how much pain it causes him, but because he cares so much about her, he realizes he has to, do it. So he has to initiate one for himself, which he's halfway through doing, but he can't stand the pain. And Caroline can't stand watching him go through that much pain, and he says to her, if you can't stand here and deal with this, then you need to go, because you're just going to make him not want to do this. So she turns around and leaves, and that's when he really starts laying it on, because I think he was playing nice while she was in there, but now that she's not, he had to really get down to the nitty-gritty of it all. And he picks up an axe and starts cutting on him and making him feel pain to get him angry so that he will shift. So while that's going on, Klaus finds out that Elena and Bonnie are going to visit Bonnie's mother to try and get a little magical assistance. And he knows he has to stop them. Or at least use Bonnie's mother to find out where the coffins are. So he sends one of his last remaining hybrids, with all the other ones that left town for Stefan's threat, over to Bonnie's house first. Yes, he managed to get the address out of him somehow. He gets there before Elena and Bonnie do. Compels both of them. Both of them, I mean her mother and the guy, Jamie, that she kind of took under her wing. Apparently she dated his father for a while, and his father died, so she took him in and helped raise him and got him through school and everything. He's kind of like a son to her. So Bonnie and Elena show up. It's awkward, because Bonnie's not seen her in 15 years, and she doesn't understand why her mother left in the first place, and she's kind of angry about it, with reason. So Abby proceeds to tell her that the reason why she left was because a vampire had come to town looking for the doppelganger, Elena, and she did what she felt she needed to do, because Elena's mother, Miranda, was her best friend. and she didn't want to see him get hurt. So she pursued this vampire and she ran him out of town. And then she cast a spell on him to desiccate him, and she sealed him in a coffin in a tomb. Wow. Just as we had initially suspected, Michael. She was the one that chained him up and put him in that tomb. Curious enough that they didn't realize that there was no spell that needed to awaken him. But anyway. She used so much magical force that she lost her own magic. Kind of floated away. She can use herbs and things, but she can't cast any spells. And Bonnie kind of feels dejected because she feels like she went all that way for nothing. Now she can't, her mother can't help her. But she at least got some answers. Apparently, after she lost all her magic, she was in a totally different state, and she realized that she could start her life over. She didn't have to be a witch anymore. She could just be Abby Bennett, a normal person. You know, so she left and started a new life. Not even thinking about the effect that would have on Bonnie and her father. Of course, Bonnie's not so quick to forgive her, but meanwhile, Elena's outside in the garage trying to give them some privacy to talk. And see, on the way there, Stefan had called asking if they had any information, and they said she lied and said that they were still looking, and that they decided to go to the lake house to have some time to themselves without him getting in the way, because he was constantly crawling up their ass and calling every 5 seconds and wouldn't leave them alone. Apparently, Stefan was already at her house looking through the files and found the one with the exact location, so he knew that she was lying. And he left to go after them. Long story short, he finds her standing there waiting outside, and they get into it. He's mad at her that she lied. She says she felt she didn't have a choice because he was driving her crazy, and they wanted to do this on their own without his interference. Before they could do anything else, Jamie shows up and shoots Stefan with a shotgun filled with wooden bullets. Apparently, the hybrid told him it was the only way to put Stefan down temporarily enough. And he was also compelled that if Bonnie didn't reveal the location of the coffins, he was to shoot himself with said shotgun. While Bonnie's in the house, her mother sprinkles some kind of herb against her face, and she goes unconscious. She drags her into a car, and they drive out to some remote location somewhere where the hybrid guy, Klaus's the butt boy, meets her and tries to get the location of her, but she says that Bonnie wouldn't talk. And he says, you know what will happen if she doesn't speak. Bonnie regains consciousness, gets out of the car, and her mother walks up and says, like, you need to say something. You need to tell them something. But she refuses to talk. And secretly, while Bonnie's back is turned, and her mother's facing her, and the hybrid is behind them, so he can't see what they're doing. She whips out her cell phone and she types a text saying, you need to warn your friends. Obviously, something big is going down. She asks Bonnie to trust her. So they get the drop on the hybrid and they manage to escape. Elena gets free from her bonds. They're still being held at shotgun point by this kid, but she manages to get free from her bonds, clobbers him, and he falls unconscious, pretty much saving his life so he won't shoot himself. She has to remove the wooden bullets from Stefan. One of them is lodged fairly close to his heart and could kill him. And she does. And he gets up and they continue, while he's laying there, she reveals something that I wasn't sure she was going to reveal to him, but maybe she felt like she needed to. She said, I'm not telling you this because I feel guilty. I'm telling you because I feel guilty you don't know. Very, very telling on her part that she would say this. And gratifying to a lot of the fans to finally know once and for all that she doesn't feel guilty about kissing Damon, that she just feels guilty that she hasn't told him. Because he has a right to know.